What up, everybody? It's your boy Gerard Michaels here from a Shared Universe podcast studio down the Jersey Shore. We've got producer Chris with us over in the audio booth today. And we're going to jump right into our show today, Chris, because we have one of the coolest episodes we've had so far. This is something that everybody in the world is talking about right now. And I have a dude that I've known for 5-6 years now. Is one of the smartest guys in the space I've ever met. And the best part about him, Chris, is he is able to filter really, really high concepts down into ways that even my dumb ass can understand them.
Ooh.
So for everybody listening, if you're interested in crypto at all, if you're interested in cryptocurrency, which means Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, Doge, we're going to get into it today. I want to find out what the hell an NFT is, first and foremost, because I'm seeing mother suckers make, $10 million off of gifts out here. And every time I look at crypto, I see it as a free money giveaway. But also I got this intrinsic feeling, this sadness inside of me that it's a trap. So we're gonna dive into it. Hopefully we can answer all the questions. Eric Gallison, thank you for joining us today. Eric Gallison, he has informed us that everything that he did with this may or may not be legal, so we can't really jump into exactly what your qualifications are. But we can say that you are a 25-year financial professional. I've been to his house in Jersey, and he's done quite well for himself. I would say either that or he has scammed a mortgage company, or either that or his wife has done incredibly well. Maybe they were the first on OnlyFans as well. I don't know. But I do remember you talking about cryptocurrency when we first met about 5-6 years ago, and you had already been 5-6 years into the business at that point that I know of. So Eric, please tell us a little bit about yourself and your background in crypto.
Yeah, so I cut my teeth mostly on the technology in finance side. So I've been working mainly on on the buy side in trading for most of my career. I've recently made some changes. Now I'm working mostly in open banking now, but I have done quite a few, have quite extensive background in the crypto space. I participated in ICOs, and I've had a rather large mining pool of Litecoin early on in the process, and we did a little bit of Bitcoin mining back in the day. I do have a lot of friends in the space that participate, that are full-timers, market makers, people who build tokens, build technology, and actively work in the space. So I'm always involved and always working on something in the space, directly or indirectly.
So let's get right to a comment that we have here on TikTok. Millennium King says it's a bubble and it's going to pop soon.
Well, listen, the same could be said about any marketplace, right? Anytime you have a marketplace that either has some fundamentals or weak fundamentals, it's at which point those fundamentals, or the marketplace, can be driven by sentiment, which is largely what's happening in the crypto space. Everything to a certain degree has a marketplace, and those marketplaces, bubbles are a part of the marketplace. Parabolic moves up and down are a part of just about any new technology or any new market. Anything that
parabolic moves meaning
up or down. Yeah. So volatility is a part of every new marketplace, right? I mean, go back and look at any stock in its first year upon release, and you're going to generally see some pretty heavy volatility. You might not see 300, 400% moves in a 1 month period, but I would say that it's not as uncommon as people think, even in traditional asset classes. So
for people that have never been in the financial sector before, volatility just means it's unpredictable. It's unpredictability. You're not going to be able to look at the chart, and it's not going to stay on a standard predictable growth or fall. It's growing, and then boom, it takes off like a rocket to the moon. And then you're like, well, it's never going to come down. So you buy at the top, and then 3 hours later, it's $50 less than it was 4 hours ago. So you know, my friends in the industry that are anti-crypto think it's a giant pump and dump. You know, the idea behind it, right, is tangibility, right? So what is let's try to break this down for people that have never bought crypto, don't know what it is. Let's start at the very beginning. Chris, it's a very good place to start.
This is perfect because I have no idea.
What is cryptocurrency? What is it?
So, you know, the initial concept behind cryptocurrency is an immutable distributed ledger, right? That is the brilliance behind cryptocurrency. You know, for many years, the problem to solve was how do you declare or establish ownership of something, and then write it to a ledger which is easy to verify without applying a lot of resources to it. I'll give you an example of something that just requires some sort of a ledger, right? You buy a house and you have a title, you sign that title over to the bank sends it to a title company, that title company sends it to multiple data sources and multiple title companies with which, you know, if one burns down, you're still going to be able to prove.
Somebody can't just show up one day with a title to your house and say, hey, this is my house.
This is mine, right? So an immutable distributed ledger in this case, which is what, you know, kind of these networks afford, is the ability to, especially on the currency side, right, to prove ownership of something, right? You have a public key, you have a wallet, and then you have a private key in your case. The owner of that private key owns whatever whatever public keys are associated with that private key. So it's pretty easy to verify.
I'm somehow more confused than when we first started.
So yeah. So I guess to give you the layman's terms is, you know, if I transfer to you $10 on this network here, and you sign it with your private keys, you officially own that whatever you own whatever that asset is,
and each of those networks that you're talking about, there's not one crypto network. Each of these currencies are their own network, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Ethereum is Ethereum, right?
Yeah, and they're all built with different technologies. So one of the things with Bitcoin that kind of has held it back from the space in terms of utility is it was written in such a way that made it very, very difficult for anybody to attach metadata to it, right? So the whole concept of this NFT or smart contract, right? So, you know, the whole purpose of a general ledger is to, you know, assign value or of either assign ownership to it, and then and create a marketplace with which you can actually assign value to it. So in the case of Bitcoin, the language that it was built in made it very, very difficult to assign any metadata to it, making it not really all that suitable for in and of itself for the smart contract language. So in terms of its actual intrinsic value, the intrinsic value is in its security, right? You know, the network is so large that you'd have to overtake at least 51% of the network in order to change the ownership of something, and it's very, very costly to do so. And the larger the network gets, the more costly it gets for you to try to attempt to hide.
Technology specifically that you're talking about, that is blockchain technology.
That is blockchain, yes.
Okay, so just to again trying to like give this for people that have never been in the space. Yep. The cryptocurrencies operate on their own networks. Those networks use blockchain technology.
Yeah, so and they're supported by miners, right? Miners lend the power to the network to validate these transactions and validate ownership, basically.
And a miner is just somebody running computers, right?
Yeah, basically, it's just an algorithm that runs. Sorry, my dogs are loud.
Shut that bitch up. No, I would never. I like dogs more than humans. Are you kidding? Right here. She's telling you you're screwing up, Eric. She's like, this is not good content.
Yeah. So So yeah, these networks are growing day by day. As they grow in popularity, they grow in size, and they lend to the security of the network. The more miners there are out there, the safer the network is. The harder it is for any one individual actor or even sovereign actor to take over and do something malicious on the network. I mean, it would take a lot of power and a lot of money. Yeah.
As we speak, Bitcoin $65,000. $65,000.
So here's what I say to the price out there.
$5,000.
Yeah. Yes. So here's what I say to the price out there is this thing is still in its early stages, and the other thing to keep in mind, it's 10 years old. For anybody who says that Bitcoin is bubble and Bitcoin is going to pop and Bitcoin is going away, it's 10 years old, and no government owns it, right? Essentially. Yeah. So I have some sad and alarming news for you all. It's not going anywhere, right? So long as people assign value to it and they have there's utility, and I'll use that word a lot, utility. Utility is the key to these networks, right? Because let's go into Dogecoin, right? Dogecoin. So I like to use Doge as a great example of
sponsored by Doge.
Yeah,
2 days of Doge. Yes.
Doge is pretty awesome because it was invented as a joke, and somebody just invented a coin based upon I can't remember what type of dog it is, but there was for many years it was for many years it was just kind of a running joke, and people were buying and trading it because it was fun, right? It was the pet rock of the early crypto stages.
There you go.
But it has
one Elon Musk tweet, one.
and here's what I say to people who are saying Bitcoin is going to die or Bitcoin is a bubble. If Doge is here 10 years later, you guys, or 8 years later, however long it's been here, I don't remember exactly when it was formed, but it was early. Bitcoin isn't going anywhere because Bitcoin actually has some general utility, right? I mean, it has some future utility.
Coming out with ATMs, right? They just invested a couple $1 billion in global ATMs.
Well, I mean, look at it like this, right? The whole concept of securing money is lost on people because we have, especially as U.S. citizens, we take for granted the amount of consumer protections that we have built into the banking system, and we have a very, very stable currency as relative to most of the world, believe it or not. Yeah, for now. And then we have a wonderful banking and credit system. We're the U.S. and there's a reason why Bitcoin hasn't taken off as much here as it has in other places, where you don't have the luxury of credit, you don't have the luxury of banks that are loaning money for your businesses, and you don't have the luxury of consumer protections that are afforded to you. If somebody steals money from your bank, up to $200,000 per account, you get it back. Right?
I can tell you, I never really understood the value of Bitcoin until I started traveling internationally, and I was up in Toronto. I got hammered drunk. I know this is hard for you to believe, Chris, but the sons of bitches. Everybody always thinks of these Canadians as like these good, altruistic, like, hey, how can I help you, bud? No, sorry, no, these sons of bitches. All right, they knew exactly what they were doing. I'm looking at the price of a beer, and the price of beer is like $9, and that in $9 Canadian. I'm like, that's $5 American. I'm gonna have 30 of these. Come on, bring it on. They charged me American the whole damn night. They swiped my card and they charged me American. Yeah. So I'm like, I literally went back to the bar. I'll never forget this. It was in Toronto. I went back to the bar the next day and I was like, hey bro, you guys messed up. You guys charged me American. He was like, well, did you have Canadian dollars? And I'm like, no. He's like, well, we're not a fucking bank. I was like, okay, all right, okay. You know what? I'm ready to take you guys over. That's it. You guys, I'm not going to use your stupid plastic coins and your monopoly money with your 90-year-old warlord on it. The queen. You still bend your knee to the damn queen. So anyway, long story short, I was like, this is where Bitcoin comes in. I don't have to exchange money. I could go anywhere in the world. If there was a Bitcoin ATM and my money, I wouldn't lose any money. There would be no exchanges. I would just pull it out, and whatever the value in that currency was, I would have. It's a true international currency.
And it is, and there's a lot of places where it is actually used as currency. I mean, if you go to most third world countries that have serious political strife or problems with their currency, devaluation, like Venezuela, Namibia, a lot of your African countries, and a lot of your Latin countries that have very, very bad economic problems, and regardless of whatever that is, because due to sanctions or just poor mismanagement or just outright communism, just stealing from the coffers. A great deal of those people actually exchange goods and services via digital coins. Not just Bitcoin, but Bitcoin being the main purveyor, but the rest, you'd be surprised that there's whole economies.
Is it accurate to conceive of it as digital gold? Is it accurate to conceive of it like that or no?
I think it has some negative connotations, right? Because the whole concept of gold being a standard of it's a standard of value, but is there any currency? Is there any utility to it, right? You're not going to be slanging gold. You're not going to be walking around with 200,000-pound gold brick around you, chipping off pieces to buy beer.
I don't know. Give Biden a few more years. So
I don't like to call it digital gold.
Please, sir.
Yeah. Can I have can I have some spaghetti Alfredo here? Let me give you a couple chillings.
You were talking about Venezuela. Nobody can steal your Bitcoin either. You can't rob somebody of their Bitcoin at gunpoint.
No, well, and the other aspect of that, and if you look at that from probably from a 10,000 degree point of view, the government can't take it either, right? Is so long as you own your private keys, and we'll get into why owning your own private keys is very important. Digital sovereignty is a huge thing for me, and it's not for most people yet because it's so new, right? The whole concept of owning your own life and owning your own data and owning your own money is lost on people. Gerard, you don't own your own money. When you get paid, it goes into a bank. You don't own your money. If that bank decides one day that this isn't your money one day, or the government decides that this isn't Gerard's money for whatever reason, your money's gone. There's nothing you can do about it. And it could take you 10 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars in lawyers to get it back.
That's such a good point. And I never even considered that, especially especially in this environment, where corporate America has decided that they are going to pick a political horse, that they are going to, go to essentially corporate America has decided they've chosen China over the United States citizens. It's just truth. They have chosen to do the bidding of the Chinese Communist government instead of the American citizen. And I know that sounds hyperbolic, but that is the truth in the moment, especially these tech companies. So that's
and a lot of those decisions are made in a vacuum, Gerard. And a lot of those decisions are made in a vacuum, and they're very political and they're very selfish, right? The people who are making those bad deals for the American people, or forget Americans, this is a worldwide problem, right? The people who make deals with your money, we'll call them the Politburo of the world. Look, they're making deals that are good for them, good for their families, right? And they're doing it at the behest of your hard-earned money, your tax money, or in some cases your actual money. Yeah. And I guess call me visionary, I guess, in that regard. But look, someday, even in our lifetime, that power is coming away from these governments. I mean, think of how many wars were started over poorly run economies, where your people are starving, poorly run economies where oil and gas were, determinant of your country's well-being. And you don't have a choice in some cases. Poor decisions now can have massive socio-political effects in the future. And more people have died for currency than any other thing in the whole world. Forget oil, all those other things combined. Everything comes down to
word with you, sir. But the religion's like, okay, hey, come on, give me some credit here. I killed a whole bunch of motherfuckers.
So I mean, can you imagine a world in which you own your own currency and nobody can tell you what to do with it as soon as it's in your wallet?
That's a terrifying thing also, though, Eric, because I mean, okay, what would stop somebody like Bill Gates from, accumulating all of this digital currency and then being like, you know what I want? A nuclear sub. And then you know what I'm saying? Like as much as I'm not an anarchist, as much as I don't like what our government has become, I do like the idea of sovereign governments as opposed to 7 or 8 billionaire warlords.
But again, any system that which affords somebody the ability to gain wealth on their own and and through sovereign means, ultimately at the end of the day, you're always going to have, somebody who is smarter enough, who knows the game better and accumulates more wealth than folks. I don't necessarily think that's a problem. I mean, when's the last time you saw a billionaire buy a fucking nuclear weapon and blow up anything, right? I mean, we don't live in a James Bond movie and we act on Twitter as if some billionaire is going to show up and form a 1 million-person army and just take over California.
They pretty much buy in Africa. I mean,
McAfee was the only one that
did that. McAfee. all McAfee did was buy a Belize so that, women threw a screen into his mouth. That's a true story, by the way. That was his kink. That's what you do when you're a billionaire. Like, if you're a billionaire, that's what you do. You're like, what can I have to do something that nobody else in the world will do? Well, what is that? Anyway. So I'm ranting. What is your job, Chris? What is your job? Pull me back. So getting all the way back to, now that everybody's left, let's get all the way back. We look at it's overwhelming for people trying to get into crypto now. The overwhelming feeling is, my God, I missed it, right? We all have a story of getting into crypto, 10 years ago. I've told you the story off air. For people that don't know,
great story, by the way.
I was convinced. I was absolutely convinced. I want to say it was in 2012. I went to a Libertarian Party meeting. I was a speaker at this event, and they had this guy talking about fiat currencies and how there is no gold in Fort Knox, and the idea of the American dollar is that people trust it, and that's it. The only reason that the American dollar has any value is because everybody else says it has value. There's no bananas, there's no gold. There's just the idea that no bank will ever come calling for the $50,000 of debt each of us owe right now because, we've got aircraft carriers that tell them not to. So
it has no more fundamentals than Bitcoin. Let's just put it that way. If you want to put it into perspective, just because the U.S. government says the dollar is good, look, they went and printed 2 more trillion of it just a couple of weeks ago, right?
Correct. Yeah. They've actually printed more money in the last 10 months than in the entire history of the United States.
I mean, I have news for you. They're devaluing your pay. They're giving you a pay cut, right? That's a tax in and of itself. Your money today is worth less than it was 3 weeks ago.
$5 slice of pizza next year. Wood right now. Wood. We talked about this in our last podcast. Wood is 250%. 200 wood. The economy follows construction prices, right? Like that's the idea. So whatever construction materials cost, that's the idea of. And now they're reporting 1% inflation. They're reporting 1% inflation, but just the cost of wood is like 250% of where it was this time last year.
Yeah. So plywood, 3/4 piece of plywood was $30, I think, in January, and now it's $92 if I'm not mistaken. The last I checked.
So you're gonna need a lot of plywood to build a house. So why are houses going for $50,000 over listing price? Because any new house is gonna be a damn $1 million to build.
Yeah, and then obviously the end result of that is people stop building houses, and how we have a housing market crunch and inflation and
all good things in the economy.
Prices of the existing houses go up, and I mean it's all.
So you have less people working, and so you have less people working, and the people that are working, they're not getting cost of living adjustments. So the prices of things increase, but you're not getting paid more. Like Eric said, you basically your money's worth half. Right. And that's why everybody is going into these cryptos right now. They're using it as a hedge against inflation and against the fall of the dollar. But
it's not a traditional hedge. Let me caution people. It's not a true hedge, right? Because obviously crypto has a whole different set of fundamentals at work than that of the U.S. dollar. So, I wouldn't suggest using it entirely as a hedge for the U.S. dollar inflation. It is something else. It is an alternative investment. It's very volatile. I would never look at this stuff for your average layman. And this is, I think this is a very important thing to say for anybody looking to dabble in this market. If you're looking at Bitcoin or any of these digital crypto, anything in the crypto industry, to trade it, right? I don't suggest you go in to trade it. Go in to invest in it, right? Just if you look at it from this fundamental standpoint of, hey, look, it's very hard and very complex to deal with, and it takes a lot of education in order for you to even open an account and own your own money and secure your own money. There's a lot of things people take for granted with actually doing that in terms of just affording adding all of the security controls to your accounts to prevent people from stealing it. That's
Coinbase
difficult
is
for people.
supposed to be doing that, right? Coinbase.
Well, no, they don't do it. They it's an option, right? You can have just a regular username and password on your account, and if you accumulate any form of wealth, there's a really good chance somebody will find out and target you. And if you don't put these controls in place, which are optional, you're going to lose your money. I know several people that have gotten money stolen from Coinbase.
That's the Mount Gox stuff. And
well, I know people have lost multi-millions of dollars on Mount Gox. I could give you funny stories about Mount Gox back in the day.
That's funny, but you should tell us that story. Yeah. Let me complete the last story, and then we'll get into this. So in 2012, the Libertarian, I forget the gentleman's name, but Libertarians have been on this for a very long time. And this is before Rogan. I think Rogan having I forget who it was. I'm doing a great job of research in this episode. But Rogan in 2014 had an economist on, and he pushed Bitcoin, and he said this is not a joke. This has utility, to Eric's point. This is not just a speculative pump and dump. And then he started pushing the blockchain technology, and that's kind of like what made Rogan kind of big in that community. It also kind of solidified Bitcoin specifically. It was exactly $100. I spent $1,000 and I bought 100 Bitcoin. I bought 10 Bitcoin for $100 each. 2 days later, it dropped to $90. I said, "Oh, fuck this. This is not real." I sold for $100 loss. I took 100. I had 10 Bitcoin that I bought at $100, and I sold it for a loss. I sold it for a loss.
And $10 tax right off.
Yeah. So Eric's point, don't trade it. Buy it and go to sleep. Leave. Don't even look at it for years. Right now, that means I would have $650,000. I would have turned $1,000 into $600. First of all, I wouldn't have. I would have sold at probably 150.
Some hooker in a Poconos would probably be sitting on $600,000 right now.
I would. How dare you, sir? How dare you? I would never pay for sex in the Poconos.
I stand corrected. So let me finish my point about $650,000. So I do want to finish one point though. The difficulty in entering this market and doing it the right way and safely is a deterrent for your average retail consumer. Every single day, people are working on solving this problem, on how to make this easier for the retail layman, right? The internet back in the day, this is a great example of, look, Gerard, I'm a couple years older than you, but hey, to get on the internet back in the day, you didn't know where to go. You didn't know what to do. You had to buy a computer. You probably had to know somebody who knew what the hell was going on. Even if you got on and dialed into something, you didn't know where to go, right? There was no structure to it. There was no visualizations. There was no retail savvy interfaces for you to go and interface with things. It was message boards, bulletin boards. This is that time of digital currency, right? Let's say crypto, because it's not just digital currency. I hate mincing terms like that. This is a whole economy. It's in its early stages, and the utility. They're working on creating the utility and then making it easy for somebody who doesn't give a shit about securing their own money to use. Right now, it's very, very difficult. And if the price is sitting at $60,000 and it's very, very difficult to enter the market, 90% of your market is not going to participate until it's easy to use, right? Because they don't want to understand money, right? Most people don't want to understand it. They want to know it's there. They want to know it's safe, and they want to make sure it's they could spend it and spend it at places. Those are the three elements that are important to people when it comes to exchanging value or exchanging
security and utility. Yeah.
And that stuff just isn't there. And if the price is here after 10 years and the utility is here after 8 years, where are we going to be in 2? Where are we going to be in 3? And now that we're in we're entering into the $1 trillion market cap here, look at forget what banks are saying, right? Because banks, what they say and what they do are two different things. Look at what they do.
That's an interesting point, because banks seem to be against crypto. The banks seem to try to dump on it every chance they can, but then they're just starting to like open ETFs for their, for their high level consumer.
They're buying Bitcoin. They're allowing their investors to buy Bitcoin. There's Bitcoin on the books of probably every single large institution out there now. All of your trading institutions are now involved at some point. And in the near future, and especially if price continues the way it is, they're going to want to reinvest in that secondary market where they bring up utility, where they get some recoup on that investment, right? Anybody who's long Bitcoin has a vested interest now in making it easier and more accessible for people to use, because the more people use it, the more valuable it is. It's a finite asset, right? It can be divided. It's divisible almost in perpetuity. But as that asset increases, the supply doesn't really increase. So now, that's Bitcoin where the price goes up.
Bitcoin is now. One of the other things for somebody who's jumping into crypto for the first time is there are like seemingly thousands of coins out there now. Right. I mean, you talked about Doge earlier. Yeah. I had fun with Doge because it's a gamble. Basically, I got in at 3 cents. It's worth 30 cents now. So I made, I turned $100 into a couple $1,000. Allegedly, I would never actually do this for tax purposes. I would never actually invest in any of this stuff. But allegedly, if I had spent $100 at 3 cents, it's nice to make, a 10,000% return on your money in a couple of days. But then I'm looking at it and I'm looking at Helium. There's this thing on Helium where you spend $300 and basically, you turn your router into a miner. You have Ripple, you have Litecoin, you've got Bitcoin, you've got this other coin that's tethered to the dot. It's too much. It's overwhelming almost,
Yeah, certainly. And what's gonna? The way I look at the existing coins out there, and I'll call these the layer one coins. Anywhere, I'll give you an example of what I would consider a layer one coin, which is Bitcoin, Ethereum to a certain degree, Litecoin. These are just very large, extremely large, very well funded, very profitable networks. But what they lack is in some cases is some utility. Now Ethereum, they solve the problem for the smart contract. The issue with Ethereum in and of itself is that it's the developers that sort of kind of run the network, they can't decide on an incentive structure for their miners, and therefore it's very, very expensive. So what people have taken to doing now, and this is where I think the market is going. So everybody wanted to solve this problem of smart contracts with these networks, right? There's two problems to solve: smart contracts and then reasonable fees for transferring funds or transferring ownership of assets, right? And Bitcoin can't solve in and of itself, can't solve the smart contract problem by itself. Ethereum has, but they still can't get
contract. What does that mean?
Well, a smart contract is the ability to apply tag metadata and sign a coin with it, or sign that smart sign that data with a transaction, and then that transaction becomes transferable, right? You could either send it to somebody or give somebody the private keys, and they take ownership or possession of it, right? So in this case, Gerard, you and I could come up with an employment agreement, and we can make a smart contract on Ethereum, and it's an enforceable contract. You could bring that in the court of law and say, hey, he signed this contract. He signed over to me the digital rights to this. We have a contract that states, and I have possession or ownership of it, or we both own it, and that's enforceable, right? If we're going to let's say I own a car, and the title of my car, I wanted to sign over that title to you. I can make a smart contract with it and pass that data to you and effectively transfer ownership to you. Now it's not that simple, but it is that simple, right? It is that simple. So the concept of a smart contract is, we're going to use these ledger systems for what they were intended for, which is to verify ownership, to validate ownership.
It's almost like it's almost like everything new, everything old is new again. This is how the stock market actually this is how the stock market actually began. So the East India, the British East India Tea Company, they would issue these stocks and use that stock as payment for the tea. So they wouldn't have to actually bring, 10,000 pounds, the British pound with them.
Yep.
They would issue a check for 10,000 pounds on the actual contract itself. So that's what this is digitally, essentially. It's like, okay, if you wanted to buy a mini mall, instead of having $10 million and lawyers with a contract, it would be 10 million in Bitcoin, and the contract is included in the transaction.
Yeah, and once you own, whoever owns the private keys owns the rights to that contract. So only that person can change those terms or change those.
So as a hacker, this is all you should be trying to figure out how to do. As a black hat hacker, you should just be figuring out how to take people's digital currency.
Well, again, securing your
the Mt. Gox.
Yeah.
You
securing your private keys. They're most people don't understand what that actually means, and I think that's a very important point here. If you're going to dabble in this market, there's exchange risk, right? There's risk of leaving your coin, leaving your private key somewhere. If you open up an account on an exchange, technically they secure your private keys. They may issue you a private key or a password to get to that, but they own your coin. Now,
when you're talking about this, you're talking about the exchanges. You're talking about
Mt.
Gox,
Coinbase, Binance, Yeah. So
this is the wallet. That's a good question. Is this the same as a wallet?
Well, technically they have like an omnibus wallet, and then they have their own internal ledger system that assigns you ownership of that coin. But here's the thing. If you get your coin stolen, whatever, I mean, I don't want to go into that because that's a whole rabbit hole, how you could get your coin stolen or how you could get robbed on one of these things. But if you get your coin stolen from one of these exchanges, they're not liable. You're liable. You're liable for securing your own coin on these exchanges using the tools that they give you. If you screw up, and they make it very difficult for people to steal, so long as you use all of the security controls that they use, they make it actually very, very.
But it has been
hard.
done. Pull it up, Chris. There was it wasn't very long ago either. Mt. Gox was hacked for, like you were saying, $100 million.
Well, so Mt. Gox in and of itself is a poor example, right? So that was a gaming. They originally started that whole concept when they were exchanging game tokens. So this whole concept of exchanging digital money started with games. Do you know that? Like it started.
No, I did not know that.
Like these.
I would have figured it was porn, like everything else on the internet comes from porn.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was, believe it or not, it was like these sim games where you can actually buy things and build things in those things. So the whole concept of exchanging ownership and exchanging digital money really stemmed from that. And believe it or not, that's kind of the story of how I got involved. One of my partners used to play one of these games. One of the partners in my firm, very, very smart guy, very intelligent guy, very young guy. He's probably maybe 2 years older than me. I'm 43 now. He's probably 44, 45. So, and this was obviously, now we're in, this was in 2009, 2010. And I'll explain to you how he came across, like days after the Bitcoin paper was published, that ended up on this website called Marginal Revolution. It's kind of this libertarian.
I remember Marginal Revolution.
Yeah, kind of this libertarian anarchist think tank of just people posted
websites out there.
Yeah. So and days after it was published, he read this, and see. So here's the brilliance in this guy, right? Because he had a use case for this stuff, right? He had a problem in this gaming system of exchanging these tokens and exchanging this money. And he was able to look at this and say, holy shit, this is brilliant. And he actually called us. So he was in London. He called us. And I'll never forget this. I walked out of my office one day and I turn around and I see 6 traders, commodities traders, huddled around the desk with a guy on a speakerphone. And this guy was telling us about Bitcoin and blah, blah, blah. And this was in 2010. And, I'm standing around with my thumb in my ass. I have no idea what the hell they're talking about.
Eric's a tough guy from Chicago. He's over here making fun of this guy for playing video games instead of going out and chasing tail every night. He's like, I don't want to hear about your stupid Minecraft, you jerk off.
Basically. And he was,
not a dicko or a brat. I don't want to hear about it.
I had the luxury of working with much smarter people than me. You know, University of Chicago guys, Harvard, MIT. Like these guys are all, like to a large degree much smarter than me.
You could have beat any one of them in an arm wrestling contest.
No shit. They were dead. They were fucking dead. There's no question about it. So then what happened was, like, we have a pizza story, right? And originally when that Laszlo pizza story came out, I thought they were talking about the partner that sent a fucking Domino's pizza. He called up a developer on a message board and said, hey, I'm going to give you, I can't remember what it was. It was like 20 or 30 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And he sent a pizza to our place. Nobody ate a piece of that pizza, but when the pizza arrived, it just went like that. Everybody said, holy shit, you just paid somebody with digital money to bring us a pizza from London.
Yeah.
And like 5 guys just went nuts. So I will add, the firm that I was at created the first
$1.2 million. Is that right? Am my math right on that? You paid a guy $1.2 million for a pizza? Is that?
It might have even been more. I'll be honest with you, I have to ask him exactly what he paid.
If he held on to those 20, 30 Bitcoins, that's a $1.2 million.
Think about this. This was in 2010 and he sent a pizza with Bitcoin. So $20, I mean, it couldn't have been trading more than 50 cents. So you do the math. I don't even know what it was.
Oh my God. It's a $500,000. It's a $500 million pizza.
Yeah, so we have a pizza story. It's not the Laszlo story, but it's very close and it's very disgusting because but again, stemming from that, right? We had maybe 4 or 5 guys started to buy Bitcoin on the street. They were on message boards. They were literally hustling Bitcoin. I mean, at one point, you know, one of the partners in one of my companies, he had 10 or 15,000 Bitcoin. One of the guys I sit next to, he bought courtside bull seats for 1,000 Bitcoin. He gave him 1,000 Bitcoin for this, and guess where he went? He went and put it on Mount Gox.
Well, we're looking at it now. Wow. The security breach on Mount Gox, 400 in 2000. First of all, there's been multiple security breaches. There's been one of in 2011, and there's one in 2013. $450 million from.
So wait, listen to this. So he had 1,400 Bitcoin on that exchange and $750,000 on that exchange, cash that he sold into cash. And guess what? So back in the day, there was no know your customer rules at this exchange. This was some gamers, a bunch of gamers set this thing up. There was no, FinCEN. There was no nobody gave a shit about this stuff because it was digital money and nobody gave a crap about it. He signed up, and I can't remember what name it was, and I don't want to out him, but he gave him a fake name, right? So when it came time to come collect his money, they said, okay, we have this big pool of Bitcoin here. We're going to disperse it. Send us the IDs, your ID, your name and number, and a picture of your license to get your money back. He had a fake name there, so he couldn't get his money back. So it's worth. I don't. You do the math now.
Yeah, the gamer
math now. 1,400. Yeah. 1,400 Bitcoin and $750,000 bucks gone. Yeah. Yeah, I see him to this day. He lives in Freehold, this guy, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. Honestly, my $90 loss doesn't feel so bad.
No, this guy got it. He's the one that personally that I know that got it the worst.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, no, there's one more too. My friend participated in the Ethernet Ethereum ICO. And he did too, and he did so in like 3 or 4 tranches of $1,000 each. And if I'm not mistaken, those are now worth $10 million each. He lost the password to one of his wallets. Can't find it.
We've got to find it. We've got to find it. Anybody out here knows?
Digit char. I tried to break into it, so I set up like a giant mining rig with like 8 cards on it, and I finally, after like 2 weeks of running, I finally stopped and started to do the math. Like an 18-digit char would have taken
so big.
Would have taken like 30 million years to break an 18.
30 million years. Well, we don't have 30 million years, but we do have an internet here, and we've got a couple 100,000 people listening. So if anybody, we're gonna set up a finder's fee here. All right. Obviously, being that the show Antagonistic American facilitated it, we'll just take a small 5% fee, finder's fee. But if anybody here thinks they can hack this 18 word password, that's now worth probably what $5, $6, $7 million.
It might even be more because it was 1,000 Ethereum. So you do the math. I don't even remember what it was.
Yeah, so $2.3 million. $2.3 million as of today.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just take like 20%. It's fine. Figure it out. we got 10 minutes. Eric, I want to thank you so much for coming on, man. This has been great. We got 10 minutes here. I just want to kind of do like short answers. You know, mining. Is there still value in crypto mining right now, or is it too late?
I mine. I'm personally, look, mining is a necessary function of the marketplace. If people don't mine, the networks don't exist, right? So I can't tell you whether it's a good or a bad idea. When you're mining today, you're mining for next year's price, not this year's price. You're not going to make your money back even in the current time. And it is not something that I believe that somebody should dabble in if they're not going to go full on, kind of ballistic on it and just invest a lot of money into it. You really can't compete with the guys that are out there. And it's very, very difficult to make your money back unless you're in it for the long term. So it's a very long play. So if you think you're going to buy one miner and make your money back, you're probably not going to, right? You're going to mine enough coin to probably break even if the market probably goes up to 30 or 40%. And that's, I don't like those fundamentals for your average miner, but mining needs to happen. So what's going to end up happening in the future here, and what's happening for like an Ethereum miner, is that mining, eventually you get paid with gas fees, right? So at some point when mining in and of itself for new coin becomes, not so profitable, the fees for maintaining these networks are going to increase. And that's where the real value is. But the utility has to follow suit, right? Like people have to actually start transacting on these networks in a real substantial way. NFTs were a really, really good kind of, I guess it brought a lot a lot of color into the industry.
What is an NFT? For people that don't know, this is kind of taking over the news, and this is something a lot of NBA players are tweeting about, and there's a lot of money being spent on this, but nobody, myself included, knows what the hell is going on. What you make a PNG and it sells for $100,000.
Well, it's digital art. You could, anything. You could upload any picture, any drawing, any schematic that you want. You could put shit on a piece of toilet paper, take a picture of it, make an NFT of it. Somebody may buy it. So, look, far be it from me to tell people what's value in the marketplace. People trade baseball cards. I don't understand a piece of card with some fucking old cadron with a piece of wood in his hands, but there's a market for it. Art. Take a shit on a piece of paper. Somebody's going to pay $1 million fucking dollars for it.
Baseball cards and art are pretty much the worst kept secret that it's money laundering. So,
well, again, so NFTs. Welcome to the world of NFTs, boys. So I heard the best tweet the other day about NFTs, right? So, well, let me finish the explanation. So, listen, it's all about capturing the value in that and exchanging ownership of the rights to own the actual picture, right? So you don't own the actual, it's not a copyright thing. So you don't take possession of the actual art. The actual artist still owns the art, but you own the rights to the picture. Nobody can use that picture without your permission. So,
what, like online, again, I can't use that
No, you own the rights to the picture.
So if there's a meme that I did not create, but I upload it to one of these NFTs, then I don't understand how any of this works. I don't get it.
So you own the actual artistic access to that thing. It's really funky, and I will tell you, Gerard, it's very new, and we are going to get into some very serious, very strange legal battles over the use and rights to these pictures that people are selling. This is one of those things that's just going to absolutely look. The lawyers are looking at this and saying, this is great. I'm a fucking NFT expert. Yep.
Put it right in. So Chris, you got something about NFTs?
So, well, my thought process is, so the original GIF of Nyan Cat, the fucking Pop-Tart looking cat running on a rainbow, just sold. People have been sharing that for the last 10 years, and it sold for $1.3 million. The original GIF file.
Yeah.
Like, so is no one going to use Nyan Cat now? Even though
no. So you only own the actual original GIF. You own the token of the GIF, right? So it's symbology. It's symbology more than anything.
So you own like a first edition
Like
that
literally,
Yes.
that was the original.
Yes, you don't own the you don't like whoever created it owns the copyright technically, and then you own.
When your son is a big league ball player in 25 years and he's got nothing but throwaway money, we're gonna go to his backyard and he's gonna have many leather bound NFTs and his office is gonna sell them.
Exactly, they're gonna be selling NFTs in the fucking flea market.
Many leather bound NFTs.
Yeah, we're gonna be down at the Collingswood auction selling NFTs with my
It's
desk.
so hard. It's so hard for me to wrap my mind around this. So, my mind was blown. I met a guy when I was working with Valuetainment. I directed an interview with a guy named Michael Franzese, who's a very well-known mobster. And we were talking about art. And he overheard us, making fun of like you were talking about, take a shit on a piece of toilet paper, put it up, and it's art. And he's like, it's not art. He says it's business. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, that the entire art industry exists to
facilitate business.
That's it. He said the entire international art industry. And I'm like, I didn't understand how it works. He goes, all right, let me explain to you. You go to Monte Carlo and you win $100,000 on blackjack. You're supposed to pay taxes on that money. But instead, what you do is you buy a painting for $100,000. All right. Yep. Now you probably buy that painting. He says maybe you give that guy $10,000, but he says he got it for $100,000. The artist, he doesn't have any money. He doesn't pay taxes on it. Now you come home to New York. That painting comes with you, right? As opposed to having to say that you have $100,000 cash and declare that when you come back home through customs, you've just got a painting. Now you have a buddy of yours who's an appraiser, and he appraises this painting you paid $100,000 for $1 million. So you donate this $1 million painting, you donate it to a charitable organization or an estate fund or a museum, and they give you $1 million tax write-off. So you spent $10,000 and you got $1 million tax write-off for whatever other business that you had where you need to make $1 million disappear.
You just cleared your overhead, baby.
You just cleared years.
So I heard the best business scheme. I'm going to drop some knowledge on you guys. I heard the best.
This is all theoretical, by the way. Allegedly, none of this has ever been proven or done, and it is certainly not being advocated by antagonistic America.
So on Twitter, hey, I heard on Twitter the best NFT.
As the great O.J. Simpson would say,
I'm going to create an NFT. I'm going to create an NFT. I'm going to buy my own NFT for $600,000. I'm going to put it on the marketplace and then sell it for $10,000. So now I just made $10,000.
Yeah,
you paid yourself.
I guess,
you just set your market at 600 and you sold a painting at like 400, 500% below the market value now.
So how does that work? You can make an NFT, buy your NFT with your own money, keep your own money.
You made a market, right? You made a market on it, right? It has a market value. Once you actually buy something, it has a market value, and whatever you sell it for after there is, there's always some derivation of whatever the market value is. And if you buy it yourself and then sell it for 10 grand, you just sold it at a tremendous discount. Somebody thinks they just bought the deal of a lifetime, and you just made 10 grand without doing a goddamn thing. Welcome to the NFT market, boys. Allegedly. And I'm not saying you should be doing this.
So listen, if you made it 55 minutes into this podcast, you just got allegedly just got life-changing information. This is why you stick around to the end. This is why
I'm not saying you should do this, but
no, this is why you watch the end credits. That's crazy. That's crazy. So you make it. So the actual function of an NFT, how does it work? Like,
it's just art, and then you get it registered with.
How do you who are you registering?
You registered on a blockchain. There's these markets. They're called.
So you have to pay
OpenSea, Rarible, Mintable. It's quite a bit too. You pay them like a couple $100 worth of Ethereum to register. Yeah, they're not cheap. I mean, I don't know what the cheapest one is, but you have to pay these guys, these marketplaces, and then they write it to these networks. I'm going to be in layman's terms. They write it to these networks, and then it becomes
open market.
It's minted basically.
And where is it sold? Where
on these marketplaces called OpenSea, Rarible, Mintable, Crypto.com does them. So you can actually, there's a marketplace in there where you can buy and exchange and sell.
People can set up their own marketplaces for their own specific NFTs. It's kind of like you ever go to an antique shop and they have all their own fucking, like, these are my tchotchkes, these are my tchotchkes.
Yeah.
Same idea, but digitally.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, here's my grandma's toilet bowl brush from 1922. Which
Love it.
shit on it.
20 million.
Still
It's
got shit on it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how something goes from trash to antique depending on how white the person buying it is. It really is nuts. Oh yeah, this will go great in my hipster coffee shop. It still has grandma's shit on it. That's
that's actual shit. No, that's real shit.
Yeah,
the original
shit. So let's do a lightning round real quick, Eric. All right, yeah. We'll do. Should somebody get involved in it? Yes or no? Just yes or no.
And NFTs or crypto in general?
Well, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna. So first of all, Bitcoin. Too late on Bitcoin, or should people get involved right now?
Yeah, I would say you should own Bitcoin. You should own some Bitcoin for sure. This is early stages. It's very, very non-utility right now. It has value in its current form, and as utility comes on, as will price, because once the transactions start happening, people
don't let the 5-figure price scare you away. Get in a little bit at a time.
You could buy $1 worth of Bitcoin. Everybody has this big preconceived notion that they can't play in Bitcoin. Like 3/4 of people I talk to are like, oh, 60 grand, I can't afford it. I'm like, dickhead, you could buy a $1 worth of Bitcoin. What the hell are you talking about? You don't have to buy all the Bitcoin.
I have it all. Ethereum, yes or no?
I like Ethereum. Yeah, Ethereum's got a very powerful network. It has, some of the features, the smart contract features. They do have to fix the gas, or they're going to end up being used as the layer 1 networks with these companies building networks on top of them. And I would like to go into that one day. I think that's a whole other topic on that we have to discuss. These layer 2 networks that are going to be using Bitcoin and Ethereum as settlement networks. Basically, they write their transactions to one little piece of the network. It's very, very cheap and inexpensive, and then they build this large network on top that transfers value back and forth. And they use Bitcoin as basically like the settlement layer, so it is sort of like the gold layer.
Ripple.
They have a lot of they're fighting the U.S. government, and I don't look. This is a worldwide economy, and they're very well funded. They have a lot of money, but I have to say, you're up against Uncle Sam, and good luck. You minted this coin in the U.S., which was their biggest fucking mistake in the whole world, and as so, you subjected yourself to the SEC, all of the regulatory bodies in the U.S.
Yeah.
And
Janet Yellen
they're going to come get their fucking pound of flesh, and they will.
Janet Yellen has said as much. Janet Yellen has said it's time to pay the piper.
They have a lot of problems, and look.
So pass on Ripple.
I can't say. Look, there is going to be some value.
I get the feeling from you. If you have a little bit, throw a couple shekels at everything, get a little bit involved. Is kind of the way.
It's not going to hurt you, because at some point they may win if they settle.
You did tier them. You did. So maybe that's what we should do. We should say Ripple. That's not tier 1. That's going to be tier 2 for you.
No, see, Ripple is its own kind of animal, right? It's basically they're building
for Christ's sake.
So Ripple's building their own settlement network. They want to basically take over like settlement. They want to be a settlement network for like exchanging value from like a currency. They want to take over currency exchanges. If I had to give you an example of like their target, they want to basically settle out of state within this currency, country to country, by just transferring that value back and forth. Moving cash and moving money and moving gold back and forth is very, very costly venture, and it's very, very slow. And settlement is fast settlement. When I send you something from the U.S. to in Western Union, it takes 3 or 4 days for that thing to settle, right? At Ripple, it could be 7 minutes before they actually verify the transaction. They know both parties. They both have risk profiles on you. They know you're not going to go and buy 68 pounds of cocaine with this thing and huff it up your ass over the border. That's their market. That's what their target is. And again, they're the reason why I believe that it's a risky bet for those guys. Look, they're not only up against the U.S. government, they're up against these very extremely large financial firms that have trillions of dollars invested in that space. Anytime you move money from point A to point B, somebody takes a pound of flesh out of that, right? And Ripple's talking about cutting all of that fat out of there and making it very quick and very, very cheap. And a lot of people are very, very fearful. A lot of people with a lot of big money are very, very fearful of undermining that network.
Did check to see if Phil called in. If Phil's on Zoom,
I would have to close another meeting.
All right. Well, hold, let me wrap it up then. 3 minutes, Eric. Litecoin, you like Litecoin?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Litecoin. It's a very big, powerful network, and for a while I was a little bit what's the difference between this and Bitcoin? But as it turns out, it has some value. It's a faster network. It's a very large network. It's very secure, and as such, people are going to be building layer 2 networks on top of it.
Do you see these things ever merging at any point? Do you see these coins merging?
No. I mean, it's like saying, will the dollar merge with the dinero? You know what I mean? It's not going to happen. These are separate entities. They'll be used for different things.
Okay.
People will have a choice. There will be features that one network possesses that the other one doesn't possess. They'll all have their own unique features. Anyone that doesn't ultimately will get probably washed out eventually to some degree. But here's the one thing. People are fucking maniacal about this stuff. Anybody who owns a single one of these is the biggest advocate for any of these coins, and they never want to sell them. They're all holding.
Very true.
3/4 of these people are buy and hold. So even when it comes to the XRP thing, right? You're like, these people are fucking nuts. Like now, Gerard, if you own, if you want to, you're asking me to like put money into a bank and that bank just got sued by the U.S. government. What's the first thing you would do? I mean, you would probably want to get your money back out and get the fuck away from it, right?
Yeah.
But it's not a U.S. problem, right?
What the Wells Fargo is going on over here?
Yeah. What the J.P. Morgan? So but people are fucking maniacal, man. They're holding this stuff and they won't sell it. And they'll buy it more. They'll buy more of it just to prove their fucking point. So anytime you have cult like fundamentals are inherently good for the early stages of these things because people don't sell them very easily.
Where do you suggest people engage in this trading, right? Because we saw Robinhood just today after, why people are still on Robinhood after what they did with GME.
Absolutely.
And what they did with AMC is beyond me. But they do have a very easy, interface, and they do have a program where they basically pay people $20 in stock to come on. So I get it. They go after the young,
fresh investors.
the very, very, very novice, the green investor, right? But like you were saying, Robinhood does not seem to have their consumers' best interest in mind at all, ever. So where would you suggest that people, A, engage in the marketplace in crypto, and B, where do you think that they can go to find the information? What's your best place for them to find information for them to auto-didact themselves, as it were, to further their personal knowledge on the subject?
Yeah, I would say, look, I always say read the Bitcoin white paper, but that's like reading Chinese Braille to most people because it's pretty abstract. It's heavily math driven. Most your average layman's not going to understand a goddamn word of it. But that's always a good start. And then look, CoinDesk, I would get on Twitter, start following, Pomp, Meltem Demirars. There's a couple people out there that are kind of have their finger on the pulse of the industry.
So many plugs on my show. Unbelievable.
I would say, get those guys do a lot of talking. There's a lot of great podcasts out there. Pomps, look up Pomp, just look up Pomp and Bitcoin and you're going to find them.
How about you, Aaron? Would you be all right if people interacted with you as far as this is concerned? But what's your Twitter handle? What's your personal?
I stay off the radar. I mean, I'm an investor, so I just I do most of my dealings in private, to be honest with you, and I very rarely, but I do on occasion will involve other people's money. When I feel very strongly about something, I will huddle up a mass of people with wealth, and we will go after something as a group, because I like to generally. And those investments, in my opinion, come around once every 2 and 3 years. They're just not. I don't make a living out of doing that, and therefore I have the luxury of being able to pick and choose my investments. And when I like something a lot and I understand it and it has great fundamentals and I like where they're going, I like what they're doing, and I like the people that are involved with it. I have to like the people that are involved with. I'll raise some money and we'll go after it in a big way. And I've made
You're 12 years in on this now. 12 years in, Eric, and are you still as bullish as you were when you started?
I'm even more bullish now. I mean, look, it's been around 10 years. Like the whole concept of this going tits up is, look, it's good luck on that. If that's your outlook on the market, it's 10 fucking years old, buddy. I mean, I got news for you, and it's still here, and banks are now buying into it. Large U.S. institutions are going long. They're investing directly and indirectly into it. You just have to watch what they do. I mean,
I'd love a boxing match between you and Jim Cramer. I would love for you to just every time.
Well, you're not going to tell one of those old codgers that here's a new game. Now you got to learn it, right? These guys made a fucking absolute killing, knowing the old game. Any threat to that game, and this is a threat to that because it basically upends the entire physical structure of the marketplace.
It takes their power.
Yeah, it's a power shift. Why would anybody in power now want to consciously go and do this, right? Yeah. But what you have to consider is that these guys aren't going to be in power for very long. You guys like me who are in my 40s are going to get pissed off in another 4 or 5 years, and I'm going to say, you know what, fuck it, I'm running for office. I'm going to go and do this now because it's not happening fast enough. And guys like me, just like me, who aren't afraid of this marketplace, who aren't so indentured to the old way of doing things, are going to change things. And we're going to be in power soon. I'm 44 years old. Guys like me who are actively participating in this marketplace, we're going to be in power in 10 years. And where's Bitcoin going to be then? I don't know. You tell me. It's not going to be defunct, I'll tell you that.
Love it. I love it. Eric, man, it's incredible. We talked for an hour, and I feel like we barely scratched the surface. We got to do this again, man.
No, I'd love to do it again, man. There's a whole bunch of, like I said, we have to have a show on the secondary marketplace because there's a whole different economy building around this stuff that just isn't. It's utilizing the Bitcoin networks, and I think it's very, very important for people to learn about that because that's where the real utility is going to start to come into play. People are actually building things on top of these networks that people can use, that people are going to understand. And then, with that comes the transactionary value that you need to support the networks with utility.
Yeah, I also, in that vein, and we really do have to go, but in that vein, who is handling the education on this for the new consumer? Who is educating the consumer on this? And that's something that needs to be discussed as well, because you have to teach people, otherwise people are just afraid of the technology. That people fear what they don't understand. So
yeah, so I'd say and part of that secondary market, there's companies like Blockstack, which is Stacks tokens, Polkadot, Algorand. Those are the three big ones that people should start looking into. They're basically, the reason why I like those guys so much is because they're bringing back digital sovereignty to people directly. I mean, Bitcoin does it in a certain sense, but these guys are building the tools for you to own your own data, for you to own your own life, to own your own money, and then be able to transact freely. And nobody's going to be able to take that away from you.
So we'll end on this, Eric. Seawitch Bitch says, I thought I got into late at $20,000. It's tripled since then. So
you guys, it has very actual usable utility, and we're sitting at 60, right? And part of that is just sentiment, right? There's a little bit of consumer sentiment just that rises with the tide of the market, but the issue is that the tokens are in demand because people are buying them, not just for investment value, because at some point these are the things like Algorand, Polkadot, and Blockstack. There's actual utility coming from those. Owning those tokens are going to mean something because you're going to need to use those things to transact on those networks, and those things ride on top of those networks that which you buy. So anything that supports that means, I'm a big fan of, and it has fundamentals, right? They have a plan, they have a mission. It's not just, hey, we have a new currency, we're going to make money. They're actually building ecosystems and tools for you to actually use to bring back your digital sovereignty. And I'm a huge fan. I don't call myself a libertarian, but I believe in liberty. I believe in sovereignty. I believe I'm smart enough to make my own decisions with my own money, and I think we've given way too much power. We're funneling too much power to governments and to billionaires, and there's only one way to fix that, and that's by taking control of your own money, taking control of your own life.
Amen.
Yep.
Chris, tell everybody where they can find the Antagonistic America podcast.
Oh, you can find them on any streaming platform: SoundCloud, Spotify. what is that other one? Google Play? Is that still a thing?
Google Play is still a thing. I don't know why you'd go there, though. You can find me on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. You can have Instagram or Facebook. I am Gerard Michaels for Antagonistic America here at the Shared Universe Podcast Studio at the Jersey Shore. This was Eric Gallison. This was incredible. We cannot wait to have you back again, Eric. And everybody, please, if you enjoyed this show, consider becoming a patron so we can continue having this and many other great podcasts and blogs. Eric Gallison, Chris, Gerard Michaels, Antagonistic America. Peace.